Hi, I'm Maureen, the marketing manager for Fireside Games. I'd like to talk to you about our Panic line. The Panic line started with Castle Panic in 2009 and has grown over the last 5 years to include 2 more variations and 2 expansions. Let's look at expansions first. Expansions build the world of the base game by stretching the game to incorporate new elements, including new mechanics and ways to go about reaching the final objective. Currently, Castle Panic is the only game with expansions, and it has 2. The Wizard's Tower, which released in 2011 and adds fire, magic, and new monsters, and the Dark Titan, a brand new expansion that adds new defenses and new threats, including an 8-point monster Agronach. Now let's talk about the variations. This is where the game really changes. Variations borrow the familiar mechanics of the other games, but give you different objectives and new ways to meet these objectives. We're going to take a closer look at each of the variations in the Panic line and how we go beyond a theme reskin to give players unique experiences. We'll start by looking at objectives. In Castle Panic, your objective is to resolve all the tokens and have at least 1 tower still standing. In Dead Panic, the objective is to fend off the zombies long enough to collect the radio pieces, call for help, and escape the cabin. In Munchkin Panic, your objective is to slay the most monsters by leveraging your treasure and player alliances while cooperating enough to save at least 1 tower. The mini expansion included in Munchkin Panic removes the necessity of protecting the towers and increases the competitiveness. The variations also change how the game is played. Let's go over some of the differences in gameplay. We'll start with Castle Panic. In Castle Panic, the team is supreme. Your presence in the game is abstracted, and everyone plays as part of the castle. Damage to monsters is done by matching your cards to monster position on the board. Card trades are cooperative to benefit the team as a whole. Resolved monsters are either discarded or saved for victory points. The game ends when all towers are gone or all tokens are resolved. With Dead Panic, things get very different. Many people think Dead Panic is just Castle Panic with zombies, but it is so much more. For starters, in Dead Panic, you are an individual character working with the other players to survive. Your turn is action-based, and you have to choose among the options. Actions must be spent to get cards, and when cards are played, they are discarded and no longer available in the game. Attacks are based on character position and card range. Individual combat and personal damage may result in players turning into zombies and fighting against their former teammates. Zombies have abilities, effects, and intelligent movement. They are brought into play and affected by event cards each round. Dead Panic has an added intermediate objective, to collect the radio pieces from the survivors and call for help. The game ends when characters are either turned into zombies or successfully make it to the rescue van. With Munchkin Panic, people think it is the same as Castle Panic because they have the same end condition, but the experience of the game is actually quite different. Your presence is still abstracted, but you are an individual competitor with a loose alliance with the other players. In the mini expansion, you play with a character card that gives you a special ability, making the separation between you and the other players more apparent. Slaying monsters in Munchkin Panic yields trophies, which become victory points, and treasure cards that can be used in combos for boosted effects. Getting help is negotiated between players for personal advantage. Players actively backstab other players through curses and special cards. The mini expansion takes this to another level by adding monster enhancers. So now that you've seen how gameplay experience is different among the variations, we'll move on to the all-important part, winning and losing. In Castle Panic, you win or lose as a group. Either all monsters are killed and at least 1 tower is still standing, resulting in a win, or all towers are destroyed by the monsters, resulting in a loss. In Dead Panic, any player whose character makes it into the rescue van alive wins. Characters who turn into zombies lose, unless you are the first character to turn and manage to turn all the other characters into zombies as well. In Munchkin Panic, the conditions vary depending on whether you played the base game or with the included mini expansion. In the base game, the player with the most trophy points at the end of the game wins if 1 tower is still standing. In the mini expansion, the player with the most trophy points wins even if all the towers fall. This slide features an overall look at the variations and how they contrast. It may look overwhelming, but it simply lays out all the differences we just went over individually. You can see that by using familiar mechanics, we help players grasp the basics more quickly, which allows them to focus on the changes each variation brings to the table. It is the combination of these differences, some subtle and some striking, that give the unique experiences players are seeking with new games. As the line grows, we will continue to focus on always bringing new twists and elements to each variation.